Hello, my friends. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is long awaited. I know I mentioned it literal months ago, but it's been a little bit daunting of a task. Today, we are going to be going through my makeup inventory in terms of how I set it up on my spreadsheets, how I categorize things, how I label them. It's going to be a very spreadsheet heavy video. We're going to be looking at my Excel sheet. So if that's something that sounds so boring to you, then I totally understand. But I know some people like myself, I love watching those videos of how, and I honestly just wish I was creative enough to have like colorful ones and pie charts and things like that, but I'm just not savvy enough with the Excel program. But I'm going to show you guys how I set it up, and hopefully this will give you inspiration or ideas of how to set up your own if you want to start tracking. I've found it to be very helpful, and I will talk about that at the end of the video as well, just like how this process has really changed my mindset in terms of consumption and PR and decluttering and things like that, because it was a very eye-opening uh, situation. So what we're going to be doing is going through my 2024 inventory and what my spreadsheets looked like at the end of the year. This way you can see what I did with all of my decluttered products, my empty products, how they look on my spreadsheet. Then we're going to go through the total of where I started, where I finished, and what my total was entering 2025. Obviously, I know it's March now, so my inventory looks very different, but I still think that this is going to be helpful to at least give you an idea of what it looked like going into the new year and how I do things. So yeah, if that sounds interesting to you, be sure to stay tuned. If you're new here, just so you know, I love all things beauty. I'm an active project planner. I love to shop my stash. I'm trying to use more of what I have this year and not purchasing a lot of makeup. And I have a project that I'm doing to help hold me accountable with that. And yeah, before we jump in, make sure you hit the like button just so that you don't forget at the end of the video. It helps my channel a lot. And if you've been doing it, I do appreciate it because I've seen the difference in analytics. So I appreciate you. And yeah, let's get into the numbers, folks. Let's get into the numbers. Grab yourself a drink. Okay, so my biggest challenge with this was trying to figure out how to show you guys my screen because I don't have the equipment to like screen reflect my MacBook while I'm also recording. So this is the best I can do, and I hope that you guys can see everything that I'm talking about on your screen at home. If you're watching it on a phone, it might be a little small, but I think on the TV it'll be fine, hopefully. So let's just get started with my eyeshadow palettes. That's what I have at the top of my inventory sheets because it's something that does, or at least last year, changed pretty frequently for me. As you can see, I have a thicker labeled category, eyeshadow palettes. And then in the next category, that is when I received it or when it came into my collection. This took a lot of time and research initially to set up, especially with products that I couldn't go look at Sephora or Ulta to determine when they came into my collection. Some of them required research on my own Instagram feed to get a general idea of when they came into my collection. So really, the sooner that you start this, the better. It'll help you identify the most accurately when a product came into your collection. And I found this to be so helpful because sometimes there are products when it's like, I know that I just got this, and I'll look at this and be like, holy crap, I've had this for 2 freaking years. Like, what? Or when I have a product that appears to be expiring because its performance is lackluster, and I'll go in and look at my inventory sheet and be like, why is this already performing like absolute garbage? I've only had it for 7 months. Shelf life is 12. So this has been really helpful to identify when stuff came in and really just help me make decisions on project planning, but also on things when I'm like, God, I feel like it's going off. Well, I've had it for this long, so it probably could be. I don't know. That category was a labor of love, but I felt like it was well worth it, and it's really easy to maintain once you get it started and once you get it going. The next category is how it came into my collection. So, did I purchase it brand new? Was it purchased used? Was it gifted to me used? Did I get it free with points? Was it a Rouge reward? And I found this to be very helpful because there are some categories that I'm like, oh my God, like, how in the heck did I have so many of, like, let's say blush come into my collection? And I'm like, did I buy that many blushes? And I could look back and see, like, oh no, I did not. Like, I did not. Like, those came in, like, free of charge, if you will. And that made me feel a little bit better because I was like, how did I spend this much money? I thought I'd been doing so much better. So, this for me, especially if you're someone who gets makeup from friends and family or others in the community or PR or gifted for review, this category I think is very vital to opening your eyes as to like how much actually comes in and what money you actually spent on the product. Now, the next category is uses in 2024. I only tracked this with eyeshadow palettes in 2024, so you won't see this category in any other product. This was a habit to get into, and I don't think I could do it with every single product in my collection. I know some people do, but I think it would be a bit tough and unrealistic for me. But I am tracking again in 2025 my uses for my eyeshadow palettes, and this was also extremely eye opening for me as well. As you can see, we have palettes with 34 uses, but we also have palettes with 1 use, 2 use, 3 uses. And this really just opens my eyes to what I reach for and what I don't reach for so that I can really target, like, why am I not reaching for this? Like, do I need to pass it along? Or what is like the deal? Have I just forgotten about it? I don't know. But it really forced me to look at those products and decide what I want to do with them so that they're not just rotting in my collection. Okay, stick with me. All of these categories won't be as long-winded because you'll know what the columns mean. But then all the way to the right out there, I have 2024 pan total. This was something that I had decided to add later in the year because I do, like I said, I do project pans. I keep track of things like that, and I thought it would be something really interesting to see, especially in palettes where I have a higher amount of pans, like being able to identify when I like how many pans I hit that year in a product, etc. I just thought it was kind of something for me that would be interesting and really eye-opening because you can see, look at all these palettes, like everything under I need a nude, I don't have any pans in. So this is something that is kind of inspirational to me to like, we need to be working on these things, using these things, especially because a lot of the palettes that I decluttered last year had a lot of pans in them. So now my collection looks so unloved. So at the end of 2024, this was the remaining inventory for my eyeshadow palettes. This is what I had in my collection actively at the end of 2024, and we'll go over those numbers later, but I just wanted to show you that because that's how it is set up. Now we're going to go into the bottom half of the eyeshadow palette category. Okay, so this is the bottom half of my eyeshadow palette category, this is where I feel like it would be helpful for me to be able to scroll so you can see this is just in one long form. And I just put a gap between like what's actively in my collection and what has left my collection. And I really loved keeping all of this together throughout the whole year so that at the end of the year, I could see not only what was decluttered, but why it was decluttered, how old it was, how it came into my collection, and how many times I used it, and how many pans it had. And I think that this was really important for me to track my uses, because when you see up top where you're like, man, some of those palettes you only used once or twice. Yes, but some of these palettes that I decluttered, I used 11 times, 10 times, 13 times. And those palettes took up uses throughout the year. So because I was using those, I wasn't using my other ones, obviously. So I really enjoyed keeping track of that in this way. And I do this under every single category. And I put the dates when I decluttered them as well, or when I deemed them to be expired or returned. I just felt like this was very helpful, especially at the end of the year when I'm trying to, you know, calculate and grab all of that data. I could literally just come to one place and get it. Like, it was so easy to calculate up, okay, how many pallets did I declutter this year? Boom, right here we have the number. And it was also interesting to see, what was older, what was newer in terms of what came into my collection when. Like, as you can see, I got rid of a lot of stuff that came into my collection in 2022. So I'm actively cycling some of that stuff out. Um, but yeah, I just thought it was really interesting, especially, when we go to like my beloved Huda palettes, where a lot of them just expired this year. They were not performing well. And you can see all the uses on those, but you can also see all the pans in those. Like Naughty Nude, I had 13 pans. And that's why I don't keep track of pan percentage, because in my mind, it is like one of the most discouraging things to track, because if I'm getting rid of something that has a ton of pan, then I'm just like, wow, my panning percentage is absolutely shot. So I don't keep track of pan percentage because I feel like it would really influence my decisions on what I keep and what I get rid of, especially when it's like time to get rid of it. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so many pans in it, it's going to destroy my pan percentage. I don't want that to weigh in, and I feel like it would. So I don't keep a track of panning percentage. But I just thought it was interesting to see at the end of the year, too, like what all I had tried, what all I didn't like, or was no longer good. I just thought it was a really easy way to track it. Okay, so I thought this might be a nice way to break it up a little bit from the spreadsheets. I want to talk about the totals, and I'll put them in here as well. So for eyeshadow palettes, I started 2024 with 22 eyeshadow palettes. So that was my beginning inventory. And then I did my next category as total emptied. I did not empty any eyeshadow palettes. Total decluttered is my next category, and I decluttered 25 eyeshadow palettes last year. When I saw that, I was like, what the fuck? How did I declutter more than I started the year with? That felt absolutely insane to me. I was like, something is not right, like whatever. And then that's when it became really helpful to go back to the spreadsheets and really look at, okay, what all was decluttered and why. Like, the multiple palettes that just weren't performing well and expired. Also, the amount of like gifted products that I ended up decluttering, like the not Dominique Cosmetic Essentials palette, the Demesomyrix Groundwork palette, the Gourmand, no, the Ciate I Am Woman, Ace Butane Mystic Romance, Life of a Party, Smashbox, there was a couple there, the Eloise Goddess palette. And then I really like started to see a pattern of a lot of the products I was getting rid of were from Ipsy. And I was already pretty fed up with Ipsy and the lack of quality. And I was like 99% sure I was no longer going to participate in their creator program in 2025. But after looking at the amount of products that they sent to me and gifted to me, and the amount of them that I ended up decluttering, I was like, God, this is so wasteful. Ipsy has got to go. Like it's fun to get it, I guess, but I guess it really wasn't at the end because I knew that it was just going to be poor quality. So it was really eye-opening to look back at it and be able to see that and identify like one of the big components of waste. And when I mean waste, I mean not only is it actual waste, but also just like wasting my time. Because while I'm using these palettes that 9 times out of 10 are shit, I could be using products that I actually love and they're aging. So that was really easy for me to just be like, okay, like Ipsy has got to go. I did end up giving most of those palettes away to friends and family. The ones that were like not absolute garbage, which there was only a couple. But a lot of those I just ended up throwing away because they sucked so bad. I wouldn't want to give them to anyone else. They were giving already expired makeup coming into my collection. So that to me was just really eye opening. And I was glad I had my spreadsheet to go back and look and be able to identify like what happened here. How did I declutter 25 when I started the year with 22? And then the next category is total purchased. The total amount of eyeshadow palettes that I purchased myself last year was 8. And that is more than I wanted to bring in. But where the big influx happened was Lethal Cosmetics released their Avatar The Last Airbender collection, and I got all 4 of those palettes. I never do that, and I've never done that. But I love Avatar, and the collection was so well done that I purchased all 4 of them, and they are like collector's pieces. And then the total amount of palettes that I received for free. So that would be, either gifted by a brand or a family member, a friend, whatever. I did not, or like I got them with Ulta points or Rouge Reward or something like that. Essentially, I paid nothing for them. I brought in 22 palettes last year that I did not pay for. That number to me seemed unreal. 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 But then when I thought about it, I was like, well, you get a palette just about every time you get an Ipsy box. So that makes sense. So 22 palettes coming into my collection last year was just honestly nauseating. And it was crazy to see that number. Now, my beginning inventory for 2025 was better than I anticipated because I felt like I had a lot coming and going, obviously, as we've heard here. So, my beginning inventory for 2025 was 27 total palettes. That means I had a total variance of 5. So, my entire collection only grew 5 palettes throughout the course of the year, which to me is much more reasonable. I really wanted to stay around that 20 mark, but I did creep up, which was disappointing. But considering how much came in and out of my collection, I feel like I landed fairly well. But yeah, just the amount that was decluttered is just crazy to me. So yeah, that is where we sit as of, the end of as the beginning of 2025. I have 27 eyeshadow palettes in my collection. Now let's jump into eyeshadow singles. Okay, this one looks a little bit easier to follow just because with my eyeshadow singles, I was able to fit all of it onto one slide. So it's set up very similarly to my eyeshadow palettes where I have all of my singles, when they came into my collection, how I received them, and then underward, there's that space I'm talking about. And then that's where I put the decluttered portion. So I can see when it was decluttered and whatnot. So I can watch as my collection fluctuates and keep an eye on that. Now we will go ahead and talk about my eyeshadow singles inventory while we're here, because it's a little bit of an easier one. I started the 2024 year with 0 eyeshadow singles. So yeah, we had a big influx in this category this year. I don't know what happened. I usually am not really into single shadows, but in 2024, I actually really use them quite a bit, and I've continued to do so in 2025. As you can see over there, we have singles with uses of 13, 8, 12, 8, 5. Like, we have some really good usage going on over there. But inventory wise, I started with 0, I emptied 0, and I decluttered 6. I purchased a total of 11 eyeshadow singles. I got 18 of them for free or at no cost. And my beginning inventory for 2025 is 23 single eyeshadows for a total increase of 23 single eyeshadows. So that category blew the fuck up this year. And I'm just going to need you to reserve your judgment, okay? Face palettes is another one that was a bit easier to condense onto the screen. It's set up the way the other ones are set up. In this one, I did keep track of pan totals and usage. The reason I kept track of usage over here, as you can see, was for my Glam Face Light palette and my Natasha Denona Glam Face Deep palette. Those had like eyeshadow palettes in them, which is why I kept track of their usage. And is also why I'm keeping track of their pans. You may see I have some red highlights on the top 2 categories there. I honestly only did that because I was wanting to be mindful and draw myself toward those older products in each category, and I did that for moving into 2025. So when I look at my inventory sheets, I can see, okay, like this product is the oldest in that category in my collection. Have I used it? What am I doing with it? Yada yada. It's really just to help me to be more mindful. And you can see a little bit of green where the decluttered category has been thus far. And green is for when I empty or finish something. And in the Natasha Denona Bronze Face Palette, I did finish one of the products this year. So that's where that green is coming from. You'll be able to see it a lot better in some of the other categories, but I just wanted to touch on it. For inventory totals, I began 2024 with 5 face palettes. I emptied 0. I decluttered 2. I purchased 3. And I got 4 for free, which leaves me a total of 9 for my 2025 beginning inventory total, which is an increase of 4 face palettes. This is a little bit more than I would like to have, but also, I mean, you can see what is included in there as you're looking at the inventory sheet. And I included everything that was, labeled a face palette. So, like the Dior Quad, it's all, in my opinion, like highlighters, and that's how I use it. But they're labeled face palettes. So we have both my Dior Quads, my cherry cheek, or gosh darn it, my berry cheek trio. Just a lot of things that could go a lot of different ways category wise, but because that's how they're officially labeled, that's the category I put them in. So I don't know, take that as what you will, but 9 is a little bit more than I would like to have, but it doesn't really feel like I have 9 since I use them in so many different ways. Next, we have foundation, and this is where you're really going to get to see some of those other labeled items I was talking about earlier, where I have empties on here, which is really exciting. I love the way that this category looks. We have, the foundations that are currently in my collection up there at the top, and then at the bottom we have what has gone, whether that be decluttered, returned, or emptied. And when I did my emptied category, I would put the date that I emptied it so I knew like the month, and it kind of gave me a little bit of perspective on how long it took or how long these products were in my collection before I finished them, because I wasn't just, decluttering them, they were finished. A good example is the Armani Luminous Silk Mini. That took me 3 months to finish, and I used that pretty regularly. That was a really good bang for my buck. So I wanted to shout that one out. But it was really exciting to just see the empties in this category because it's so exciting when you finish a makeup product. And if you guys haven't noticed a trend, like a lot of these categories, I have a lot of declutters. So to see some empties was refreshing as hell. For final inventory numbers, I started 2024 with 7 foundations. I emptied a total of 4. Freaking hallelujah. And then I decluttered 8. I purchased 4. And I got 12 for free. So I did have overall a lot of foundations come in this year. That being said, though, I did end the year with 10. So I have 10 foundations going into 2025 for a total increase of 3, which I feel like an increase of 3 isn't horrible. I finished 4, so that makes me feel better. And also, as you can see, I was gifted a lot of foundations last year, so I don't feel too bad about where we ended. I do prefer to keep my foundation number around like 5 or 6 just because those do go off a little bit quicker, but I also need variety for seasons. But yeah, overall, feeling pretty good about this category. Concealer is another one that will be kind of quick. As you can see, I emptied 2 concealers last year, and let me tell you, that felt like an absolute bear. Concealer takes so freaking long to empty. Luckily, I only had 1 expire last year. The others were decluttered because I just did not like them, and 2 were returned because I felt like they were absolutely awful. But I was excited to see some of that green in this category. Last year, I started out with 6 concealers. I emptied 2. I decluttered a total of 7. And I purchased a total of 6. I didn't get any for free last year. Boo. And my beginning inventory for 2025 is 3. So that was a category where I finally saw a decrease in inventory. I had 3 less to start the year than I did last year, which is super exciting. Okay, so bronzer is one that we saw a pretty big increase in as well, but honestly, I'm still super proud of this category because look at that. Look at those empties. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I emptied 5 freaking bronzers last year. And I'm going to hold on to that for a while because I'm still so damn proud of that number. We started the year with 2 bronzers. I emptied a total of 5. I didn't declutter any. I purchased 2. I received 7 for free. And my beginning number for 2025 is 10 total bronzers. So I saw an overall increase of 8 bronzers, but honestly, this is a category that I really like, and I don't feel like the number is super out of hand, especially because some of the ones I have right now are minis, and finishing bronzer is something that I am good at. So I feel really comfortable with this number. The biggest challenge for me this year is going to be that Chanel bronzer that you see there at the top. This is the oldest bronzer in my collection. If you watch my project pans, then you know I am actively trying to pan this year. It is an incredible bronzer. I love it, but it is now over the 2-year-old mark, and the shelf life on that one is 12 months. So far, I've not noticed a change in smell or performance, so I am going to continue to use it, but it's huge. It was expensive. Even though I got it with points, it's still one that I would really love to finish this year because, as you can see, the majority of my inventory is new in this category. After I finish this bronzer, everything else will have been from 2024. So that's the one that I am like focusing on the most. And overall, I'm happy with this category. I think in tandem with finishing that Chanel bronzer, I'll be able to empty like the Milk Makeup Mini, the Nude Sticks Mini, and maybe even the Rough Eye Cream Bronzer in the shade Dune because it's going quite quickly so far. So I think that we can expect another 3 to 4 bronzer empties in 2025. Okay, so I tried to put the decluttered bit in with the like pasted on top of the blush one to kind of save us some space and slides. But I'm gonna need you to reserve your judgment for this category because it absolutely fucking exploded in the craziest way. And this was another category where it was really beneficial to know how products came into my collection because I was feeling so guilty about the amount of blush I had. And I'm like, did I like buy all this? Like, how did we get here? How? And I, could look up my spreadsheet and see, like, oh, a lot of these I did not pay for. And that made me feel better in terms of like where I'm spending my money because to have this amount of blush that I paid for out of pocket would just be thousands of dollars, which is not okay for my current income and budget. So it was really helpful to see how that entered my collection. That being said, last year I started with 4 blushes. That is all I had at the beginning of 2024. I didn't empty any last year. I decluttered 14. I purchased 8. So I did purchase more than I would have liked to purchase, but I digress. I had 31 blushes come in for free. And that left me with a increase of 26 blushes total in my inventory because starting in 2025, I have 30 blushes in my collection. A 26 item increase is a fucking lot. And I actively have been going through my collection and using it. And there are a couple I could see myself getting rid of, but just not quite yet. A lot of the blushes I currently have, I love. So I'm not planning to get rid of them, but there are a few that I would really like to completely finish this year. Like that MAC Glow Play Blush. That's the oldest one in my collection, and I have been working on it for a dumb minute. So that is one that I have to finish this year. I will do it. If it kills me, I will do it. And then I also have a mini of a Milk Makeup one that's already almost gone. So that'll, alleviate at least 2 out of my collection. I mean, as you can see, all this blush is new. So I'm not really in a hurry to finish any of it other than the MAC Glow Play. I do have some blush in face palettes like the Natasha Denona Glam Face. The light one I believe I got in 2022. So whenever I finish this MAC blush, I plan to start focusing on that one because it is a cream and it is older. So I want to focus on some of those in my face palettes before I start focusing really on any of my single ones, just because the singles are a lot newer than the ones in the face palettes. But yeah, blush was a big increase category this year. So I also had a pretty big increase in numbers with the highlighter category this year. In 2023 and even 2022, I was really just not into highlighter anymore, but a switch flipped in 2024 and I was back into it, clearly. I started the year with 2 highlighters. I didn't empty any highlighters. I decluttered 4. I purchased 8. That is obnoxious of me. I received 11 for free, and my beginning total for 2025 is 17 highlighters. That is an increase of 15 highlighters, which is honestly just insane. And I, like you saw, I bought a lot of these. In a somewhere with points, but still a lot of these were purchased, which means like I am being I haven't bought any highlighters in 2025 yet, and I don't plan to because I have so many and they take forever to empty. But yeah, that was a huge category increase. And honestly, that one was mostly on me. It wasn't even gifted products. Like, a lot of that was me. That was all me. Okay, so next up is primer, and I didn't have an insane increase in this category, thankfully, but I did have a lot come in and out, and so I wanted to talk about that. I had 4 primers at the beginning of the year, and I also included my eye primers in this category, and those are highlighted by, like, I boldened the shade, like the term eye, so I could see. But so face primer, I had 4, eye primer, I had 2 at the beginning of the year. I emptied 1 face primer. I decluttered 7 face primers. I purchased 3 face primers and I received 10 face primers for free. And going into 2025, I have a starting total of 8 face primers, which is a total increase of 4. Now, with my eye primers, I didn't empty any. I decluttered 1 and I purchased 2 and I got 1 for free, which leaves me with 3 eye primers to start 2025 for a total increase of 1. So those did not do too bad. I really would like to see myself empty more face primers this year, especially since now I have more face primers. I need to empty more face primers. Okay, this one I scooted over and we're going to look at it together because I think the way that it'll fit fine in the screen the way it's set up. So, lippies are next. And the lip category is obnoxious. Not only did I have an extremely large increase, but this was a category where I had a lot coming in and out. Like, it is absolutely insane. This is a category that made me feel really about the amount that I declutter because when I show you the amount that was decluttered, you're going to be like, holy shit. So this is what my inventory is looking like now. When I began 2024, we were sitting really good. I started with 19 lippies and I didn't want to give myself props. I emptied 9. And I feel like emptying 9, and this includes all lippies, so like oils, gloss, lipstick, matte lips, stuff like that. This is encompassing of all lippies. And I emptied 9 last year, which I feel like is like pretty good. That's sizable. That is a good amount to rotate out of my collection. The problem with that was that I purchased 7 and then I received for free a total of 59 lippies last year. I I recounted this multiple times because I was like, ain't no way. Like that just seems so atrocious, especially for a very small creator myself, and really just put in perspective like how much stuff some of these massive influencers get and how wasteful it is because I'm a small creator and that amount for me to get is so wasteful. I was like, oh my god. Especially because now you're going to see I'm going to insert the decluttered slide. And I decluttered a total of 29 lippies last year. 29. That is crazy. That is more than I started the year with. Like what the actual flip. So we obviously, as I'm sure you predicted, saw a very large increase in this total from 2024 to 2025. I had an increase of 29 lip products, which has me starting the year with 48. Will I ever use 48 lipsticks? No, I will not. And I did all of this calculating after I had filmed my end of the year declutters. So this encompassed all of those end of the year declutters. And I have some in here that I'm like, I don't feel like, I necessarily like love, but like I would like to hang on to because I do use them from time to time. So I'm fairly happy with the assortment that I have. So I don't really foresee this number going down much in 2025 unless I am emptying products, which, I'm always actively working on doing. I'm a project planner. I try to empty things. So I think in this category, it's really just going to be more mindful of what I am bringing in and how I'm spending my points and things like that. I also think this year in 2025 already, I've received substantially less PR than I did last year. So I think that that will help as well. Obviously, a lot of those were gifted last year, but that category really just rocked me. Like, I feel like my blush and highlighter category this year were like cold slaps to the face. Like, what the fuck is happening, Megan? Like, that is what those felt like. Those were freaking tough. Now let's jump into lip liner. I started the year with 5. I emptied a total of 1, and that took every ounce of last year. That was my Makeup Forever Endless Cacao, and that took every ounce of last year. I decluttered 2. I purchased 5, which seems insane, but I really like the Tower 28 lip liners and they expanded their range, so I got a couple of those. And then I got 8 for free, which gives me a total of 11 going into 2025 for a total increase of 6 liners. That is a lot. Lip liners take a hot minute to finish. Next up was sunscreen. So I started the year with 0. I emptied a total of 2 SPFs. I decluttered 4 SPFs. I purchased 3 and I got 6 for free. And I really like where my total number ended at. I had a total of 4 SPFs going into 2025 for a total increase of 4. But I felt okay about this number because one of them going into 2025 was almost empty. It was so close. It made me so mad. Almost empty. I've already been working on the other one. And then another one was a replacement, and one was one that I had not yet tried. So I felt comfortable with this number, especially while looking at the expiration dates. I did have time to finish them up. I really don't want a lot more SPFs coming in though until I get that number down to around 2 because the importance of the expiration date on SPF is really important. So I don't want to go over that. Next up, these are kind of clumped together. So we'll see mascara. I started 2024 with 0. I emptied 4. I decluttered 1. I purchased 4 and I received 8 for free, which left me 7 to start 2025, which is a big increase. For eyeliner, and I also want to mention with sunscreen or not sunscreen. Sunscreen too. I'm not looking at that particular part of my spreadsheet right now. But for sunscreen and mascara, I started dating when I opened it because this is really helpful for identifying expiration, especially on mascara or SPF. Because mascara really you should get rid of it after 3 months. But this is a product that I sometimes will have for longer or shorter amounts of time. And I'll be like, God, I feel like I just opened this, but it's already drying out. And then I'll look back at my inventory and I'll be like, oh, well, actually, it's been open longer than 3 months. So it makes sense that it's drying out. That has been eye opening and really beneficial and really useful for me. And with SPF, it just makes it easier to track like how far along are we on its shelf life if it doesn't have the expiration on the bottle. Because sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Eyeliner, I started the year with 1. I emptied 3. I decluttered 3. I purchased 5. and I got 10 for free, which leaves me with a total of 10 eyeliners going into 2025 for a total increase of 9. And that's why I started tracking that category, because that category started to get big. And with it getting big, I wanted to track it because eyeliner is not something that only takes me like 5 minutes to use up. Sometimes it takes me a while to use up. So I want to know when things are starting to get older. Same with powders. I started to get a big number and wanted to be able to identify how long they'd been in my collection. In 2024, I started with 3. I emptied 2. I decluttered 1. I didn't purchase any powder. I got 6 NPR, which gave me a total of 6 powders to start 2025. So I want to know when the dates are on those so I know which one I should be moving to next. Brow gels, I started the year with 0. I emptied 1. I decluttered 0. I purchased 1. I got 3 for free, and I now have a total of 3 brow gels going into 2025. Setting spray, I had 0 at the beginning of 2024. I really just stopped using setting spray for a long time, and then in 2024 I kind of got back into it. So I emptied a total of 3. I decluttered 0. I purchased 2 setting sprays, and I got 2 for free, which going into 2025 left me with 1 setting spray, which I feel good about. We started 2024 with 0, and we ended with only 1. So I felt really good about that number. I also had kept track of sample cards because I feel like when you have them for so long, they're not really good anymore. So I wanted to know when those came into my collection. I started the year with 2. I emptied 4. I decluttered 1, and then obviously free and purchase, that doesn't apply really here. But then I started the year 2025 with 5 sample cards. So those are ones that I want to be mindful to work in from time to time. The only category that I'm thinking about adding in 2025 is my brow pencils. I usually go through those relatively fast, but I guess this is the year of brow pencils because I've received already 2 NPR, and I got some for Christmas. So that's a category that's starting to have a lot, and I want to make sure I'm reaching for my oldest first and making sure that I am aware of those dates and when they came in and how they came in case we're sitting at the end of 2025 and I still have a plethora of eyeshadow pencils, eyebrow pencils. So that is something that I am thinking about adding to my inventory spreadsheets. And I just think if this sounds daunting, like you don't have to do it all at once. Like you can start by a category and work through it. Like this took me about 2 months to completely compile, but I definitely felt like it was well worth it. The last one I wanted to show you guys, which you might not really care about, but the last one I want to show you is my fragrance. So I not only did this with my makeup, but I also did this with my fragrances and my nail polish because I know those are 2 other products that us beauty lovers love, and I know that those are 2 other products that a lot of people disregard how old they are. I know some people use perfume for like a decade plus, and if that's you, that's fine. I personally start to notice a change in the scent or the lasting power after a couple years. So I'm really trying to be mindful to focus on and use those older products in my collection. So I'm going to show you my fragrance inventory as well and how I've set that up. And I'm going to flip it back to the fragrance. No, I'm going to flip it back to the spreadsheet version of this so that I can better see what I'm looking at as I'm talking about it because it's set up like a little bit differently. Okay, so here's what my fragrance inventory category was looking like at the end of 2024. I did this one a little bit different, whereas I color coded when I like to wear the scent. Blue was for winter. The white was for more of like summer/spring. That was just easier for me to identify like what I should be pulling to the front for when I like it. And like I'm a very seasonal fragrance person, so I like different scents at different times of the year. So this just really helped me categorize and separate that out. Now, I did do a date received on this category as well because, again, I like to see when this came into my collection so that I can keep kind of track on that ticker. Condition received is, again, purchased, gifted, free with purchase, yada, yada. And then fate is where I put, if I emptied it, decluttered it, whatever, which you'll see that when we scroll down. But I wanted to show you the top first because what I did is I highlighted in red all of my oldest fragrances. And as you can see, we have a handful from 2021 and a handful from 2022. I would like to finish all of the fragrances from 2021 by the end of 2025 because at this point they're over 4 years old, like they're no longer in their prime. So I really would love to finish those up. And then if I'm being ambitious, I would like to also finish up the ones from 2022. And what I did is just as kind of like a motivational factor is in the fate category, I added like where I'm at. Like, the one's at 3/4 gone. It's a fourth gone. That one's almost half gone. It's just kind of like motivational to see like, okay, like it's not like they're full. Like we have really big dents in these fragrances. So that's why I highlighted them because they're ideally what I would like to finish by the end of 2025 since they are my oldest ones. And then I'm continuing to do that throughout the inventory sheet. When I have a fragrance that's half gone or more, I'm just going to note it there so that I know like, hey, like we made good progress in this, etc., etc. So now we're going to move to the bottom half of the sheet, which shows like my decluttered and emptied portion of the fragrances. All right, so here's the bottom half, and this shows what I've emptied and what I've decluttered. And honestly, I was so just thrilled with myself, tickled pink at the amount of fragrances I was able to empty last year. It's something that I worked on really hard last year, and I want to continue to work on hard this year. This year, I'm also going to be more mindful of how many I have coming in because this year I just had too many come in to even really outweigh what I emptied. So at the beginning of 2024, I had a total of 18 fragrances. I emptied 9. 9, baby, 9. Even if they're travel sizes or minis, I don't care. Those are still big. I didn't include samples in this. I didn't include samples on any of my inventory as far as like size wise. But some of these were travels and minis, but they were still big. So I emptied 9. I decluttered 5. I purchased 12 fragrances last year. That is the problem. That is the problem right there. I purchased 12. I had a total of 16 come in for free, which leaves my beginning inventory of 2025. I have 33 fragrances for a total increase of 15. So if I'm having 15 come in a year, I need to be finishing more than 9. So yeah, that was the issue there. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, I felt okay about the fragrance number. I was really happy with how many I emptied, but it definitely showed me I need to bring in a lot less in 2025. And so far, I'm pacing well with that. So yeah, all being said, if you stayed this long, thank you so much. Please don't forget to hit that like button. This video took a long time to film and a long time to edit, but I know a lot of you voted you wanted to see it, so I really wanted to get it up for you guys. I felt like overall this exercise was really helpful for me in 2024 because, like I said, I was just more clearly able to see how much was coming in my collection and how much was going out. But I was also able to see how it was entering my collection and how long it was staying. It was easier for me to just track those things and be more mindful. And it was really just eye-opening because I never would have guessed that I had that many blushes or lipsticks come in nor would I ever would have guessed that I decluttered that many eyeshadow palettes. Like, it was just like, whoa, freaking, my mind was blown. I was like, holy shit. I want to share this with you guys because wow, it was that eye opening for me. I feel like it could be really eye opening for some of you as well. And like I said, it definitely is a labor of love, and it is tough when you start and it takes time, but just be patient. Like, there's no rush. Like, you can take 2 to 3 months to build your spreadsheet. You will get it done, you will accomplish it. And then from there on, maintaining it is so easy. Then you just, when something comes in, you add one line and you say right then and there how you got it, when you got it, whatever, and it's done. It is so easy to do. I have mine on Google Doc, like their spreadsheet, just because I can access it wherever, on my phone, on my computer. So if I'm making an adjustment and I don't have my computer, I can make it on my phone. And that has made it really easy for me. But overall, it's just been really eye opening and really, really helpful. So I encourage you guys to do it as well, especially if you're makeup enthusiasts like myself. It can be motivating in different ways in terms of like low buys or finishing up more product, or just looking at the amount of product that you did empty by the end of the year. I felt like that was really encouraging as well, especially since I'm not doing pan over purchase in 2025. I'm really going to want a way to look at how many makeup products did I empty, because I feel like that is always so satisfying. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any questions, comments, what your thoughts are. Again, I appreciate you so much if you stayed until the end, and I can't wait to see you guys in my next video. Bye.